All right, here's the debriefing. I've got a little script so I can make sure I stay on track. So, for mission prep, I replenished my stock. I've got a paddle. I've got a fishing rod, even though I didn't bring it. I've got a new phone. I've got gloves. I got shoes. I even have extra lunch. So, I replenished my stock that I've lost last time, with the exception of a dipole, which I was supposed to hook fish with. I didn't get another one of those yet, but I might when I'm ready. For repairs, I've repaired the sonar and its wire. I've repaired the solar charger to recharge the battery. I've repaired the flag, or at least I jimmy rigged the flag for temporary purposes until I get me something else. And I also rerouted the wires. I've put more batteries inside the walkie-talkies so they can operate better, but they still work like crap. I guess the walkie-talkies is basically the Midland ones, and it's supposed to have a range of 30 miles, but it's real staticky whether you have fresh batteries or not. So, but I still had it while I was out there, and I was on a net with someone so they could hear me or I could call back to them, but yeah, didn't go so well. I've had extra gear, so I had for the extra gear I had lanyards this time. So if I was to flip over or something was to go awry, then I could just pull most of the stuff back into the boat. All right, with those lanyards. Okay, uh, I've had I had lights on my boat now, and I've had reflective tape. So in case I get stranded out there at nighttime, other boats can see me, or not stranded if I'm just going out there fishing eventually at night, then other boats can still see me. All right. I've had with the new phone I've upgraded the storage space. I put a phone holder on the kayak. I also packed flippers and a mask for snorkeling. I had my anchor ready, my rope ready, and the horn. I had like a horn that I didn't tie down and I had ready, so in case anything were to come flying at me, I could blow the horn and let it know, hey, I'm here. So, action on objective. What I did is, before I even got there, I had a pre-workout because it was I was huffing and puffing because I had to drag the kayak all the way over there. I'm not talking about I drank anything to keep me alert or give me extra strength. No, I dragged the kayak all the way over to the beach line. So I was kind of a little, huffing puffing. I had to get my gear together, and that gave me my wind back. So when I got ready to do everything, my camera was still set in hyper speed, and I didn't quite get that all fixed or put it back into normal speed because I'm still trying to get the ropes of the GoPro. So I gotta figure out how to get it to play regular mode and all modes by touching it without using everything. So I got into the water and I hit play for a while, and I didn't want so I got into the water, I hit play, and I easily got into the boat. All right. So, and the boat, when I was in the water, it was waist high. I got into the boat very easily. I guess all of that previous rolling over in the boat kind of made me a little bit more better at getting into the boat. And plus, I had the outriggers, which gave me more stability with not tipping over and over again. So I got into the boat real fast, or not boat, but kayak real fast, and I started paddling off. I cast it off, and while I was on my way, I was trying to be perceptive. I was trying to make sure that I don't capsize again. All right. I was looking, I was trying to understand it all. And I was trying to understand what happened. I was trying to see these waves. I was trying to see how far can I see these waves. But in the grandeur of it all, it's like things started opening up to me where how I didn't see it before because I wasn't really paying attention. All right. I'm starting to pay a little bit more attention, and I saw that yes, the wind causes the ripple in the waves, right? I saw that. I could see it now. When I feel the wind, I could see the ripple in the water. All right, building a little wave to it. I could also notice under myself is that rocks. Every time where you pass up a rock or a nice line of rocks, that's where typically you start to see where the waves are forming with water current. So I saw that the water current played a big role and the rocks played a big role in making massive waves. So I started looking for where the rocks are and trying to see where those ones were as I was going. But you can't quite tell the water current, and you can't quite tell because of how the refraction and reflection of the water when it's moving, how the shape of the rocks are to determine what kind of wave you're going to be getting. So it made it real difficult to figure that part out. And plus, you had to keep your eye all on the deep side of the oceans because that's where your bigger waves are going to be coming from. So that's what I was looking at. And you'll see me, you most of the time when I'm coming out, you'll see me be looking off to my left side because I'm moving towards the ocean in that I'm moving in towards the ocean to the right side. I'm veering off to the ocean but to the right side of it. So you'll see me looking to make sure when I'm paddling I can see. And anytime I have a nice big wave, I have to go straight into it so I can just go straight over it. The camera and the GoPro being above and me moving my head around so much and I had my head on a swivel, it didn't really give the awe and give the show of how big the waves were. And near the beach line, the waves were about, let's say, 2 to 3 feet, which is fine, which is great, which was no problem getting out into the deep water. In the deep water, that's where things started getting a little bit bigger, a little bit rougher, and where you get the current. So it moved up to about, let's say, the waves got up to about good 4 to 5 feet, depending on where I was. And in that hazard area, that's where it became like 4 to 5 feet. Definitely, it's not that good. So, when I was reaching the objective, I saw in the distance that, yeah, the hazard area is a hazard for a reason, and that's because for some odd reason it must be that rocks are shaped or formed in a direction where it formulates huge waves. So it's like a bunch of current goes over or maybe gets funneled into a certain spot which comes out and comes over. So I saw that and I'm like, I've got my outriggers, I'll be fine. I'll be under the water where the current won't necessarily mess with me as much, depending on how far I go up under when I'm snorkeling. All right. And my plan is to throw an anchor so I can keep my kayak in a specific spot and then tie a different lanyard to myself to the kayak so I can snorkel freely and get back to the kayak and then pull up my anchor and then head off when I get my gear. All right. So, and I was looking for my gear that I lost the previous time when I went to that same spot. So I'm like, all right, let me get into this hazard area. Let me go. So I went to that hazard area and I was like, all right, time for me to cast the anchor. Everything was inside the portal at that time. and I stuffed it in a way where I could get everything out correctly. But obviously, when you're moving and shaking, things start to get misplaced. So when I pulled out things, the first thing I pulled out was my plumbing camera. I was supposed to have the plumbing camera inside the water so I can look around before I jump out into the ocean to find my stuff, to see if I can even get eyes on it before I get down there, and to check and see if there's any other hazards in that area before I actually disembark. So I pulled that out, I looked at it, and I put it down right in front of me because that's not the first thing I was supposed to have or get ready. So the second thing I pulled out was the snorkel mask. I didn't want to put that on just yet because I wanted to make sure I can get everything else that I needed situated first. That was the last thing I wanted to don so I can see everything crystal clear, and I wanted to put my GoPro on it and everything else, so I was going to save that one for last. So I put that up in the front of the kayak. The next thing I pulled out is my left flipper. I'm like, all right, so I put that up to the side, and then I pulled out the anchor. And I'm like, all right, I've got the anchor, so I get the anchor opened up, and I pulled out the rope, and the rope had a slip knot on it. And I was like, it's just a slip knot, and it was bunched up because of all the movement down there. And I was like, it'll figure itself out. So I cast the rope and the anchor down to the ocean side, and it immediately gets hooked onto something. I can feel the boat tug, and I'm like, great, it's hooked onto something. And I was like, I guess the slip knot's not working just yet, but it'll pull itself out, right? So I begin to put my left flipper on my foot, and I feel a nice hard jerk because there are waves formulating over here. And the anchor is holding on to something, and the slip knot didn't actually slip out. So the next jerk I felt in the wave pushing me, it's actually the anchor is holding my kayak. All right, and it's holding on the right side. I threw it off to the right side, and every time you start seeing me look off to the right side, let's say if you'll see on part 8, 1 minute and 24 seconds in, that's when I get the anchor and start throwing that sucker out. All right, and starting to deal with the anchor. All right, so the anchor is situated, let's say, onto a rock or onto a piece of coral or something that's got a hold of it. All right, and every time a wave come by, it hits my boat, and my boat doesn't have a chance to use their outriggers and float over the wave any. It hits the boat, and the anchor drags everything where it rushes over. And for some odd reason, you don't quite see it, but I have the portal still open. So as the waves rush over me, the water starts going inside of my kayak. So it's not good because I didn't bring a pump with me. I thought I had everything, but I didn't bring a pump. And if the kayak fills with water, I would sink regardless because it's going inside the portal. All right. So I was thinking, I've got to close this portal. I've got to hurry up and put my gear on so I can close the portal. And I've got to fix this anchor. And so I grab a hold of the anchor. I start pulling myself so I can give myself slack. All right. And when the waves come, I would let go of the rope so I can float over it. And after a couple of times with that, and the knot not necessarily given free, I was like, all right, either it's going to be me sinking, or I'm going to have to cut the anchor. So I have to make a decision. I was like, I got my gear. I could go under. I could actually close this thing up if I can. I just need my last flipper on, and I close the portal and I can go under and unhook my own anchor. And that was a thought. That was a thought. But I realized that these waves are coming into sets. All right. You get sets of, let's say, 4 or 5, and then you get a small pause. And then you get some more sets of 4 and 5, and you get a small pause. So I couldn't get the small pause where I could get any of my stuff ready, and I was filling up with too much water at that time. So I had to cut my loss, and I cut the anchor. And I started shoving everything. I took my flipper, started shoving everything inside the portal as fast as I can. All right. And I closed the portal, and I needed to get out the hazard area quick because the waves were getting really big. For some odd reason, the more time you take out in the water or out in the daytime, the higher the waves get. Maybe it deals with the sun, maybe it deals with the tide. I'm not quite sure, and I'm not sure how the current was operating. But yeah, I had to try to run from the waves, and I didn't do a good job at running from the waves. That being said, I must have gotten close to a different spot which formulates waves with a current. And around 2:07, 2 minutes and 7 seconds, that's where I thought I was out of the hazard zone, but I wasn't. But 2:07 showed me that a wave formed immediately, came up to me, picked up my outriggers. If I was to do the still shot, it doesn't do justice. It picked up my outriggers and it capsized me, right? So this time I'm still a lot faster. I get my boat, I turn it back over. The outriggers made it a little bit harder to turn it back over, but I did. I muscled it over, and I got back on. The outriggers helped, once again, me get back in the boat without turning back over. I rolled back, I jumped in with my belly, I rolled over on my back, and I scooted myself back into my seat. All right? So I did a great job of getting back in, and I was still going to haul back inside. And I saw another wave formulating, and I actually began to kayak surf. And I surfed for a good while, and I started beating the daggone waves at that time because I had a lot of speed coming back. I was humming back, and I made it back on in. So, and it was real thrilling and exhilarating doing the whole kayak surfing for such a long time. When it comes to actual surfing, I'm only able to stand up on the board for about a good 8 seconds, which is really exhilarating. You know, the closer you are to the surface level, the faster you feel when you're moving. So I felt like I was going like 25 miles an hour at least. That's what it felt like. So regardless, there was a lot of stuff that happened out there. So I'm glad and I'm blessed to not get injured. I've had a helmet, I've gotten a lot of things, and thank the Lord for keeping me safe. So I gave a word that I won't go back out into the hazard area without good training. So I need to get at least about 2 months worth of training, plus I probably need to actually hire professional kayak lessons before I go back into the hazard area. So that's what I gave my word, so I'm going to do that. The damage assessment and losses, of course, I've lost the anchor, I've lost my rope, I have to replenish those stock. I've lost a horn that floated off. At one point in time in the film, you might be able to see me turning around in circles. That's when I was trying to recover a horn after I've capsized. I thought it was a dumb idea after I started seeing the waves formulate again and started to move out and kayak surf. I've lost a green light that was supposed to be for nighttime operations or nighttime fishing and stuff. So I've got to replenish that. And my outrigger needs repair because it was through a lot of stress with being capsized and turned right size up, and now it's wiggling and almost off. So retraining is necessary because I had all the gear that I really needed to complete the mission. And I didn't have that much experience out there with ocean to know whether the timing is right. So, if anything, one of the things that I'm going to have to do is practice muscle memory and getting my gear on and off in a timely manner. Another thing is getting used to the ocean current. So I have to go out in the area where it's not a hazard area, but yet still gives me some waves so I can traverse to, from, left, and right with the waves. So I need to practice on that in safe areas. I need to practice snorkeling a little better. So I'm gonna have to go inside cove areas and practice snorkeling a little better because I haven't gotten a chance to do that inside the, with a little current pushing me. I have snorkeled before out in the cove areas before, but I need a little bit more practice to understand and know. I've got to do a little bit more research I've seen because there is stuff according to the map that I didn't understand and now I do understand, but there is a lot more that I need to understand when it comes to the topology of this ocean and the mapping of it. There's a lot that I need to learn before I go that far out. So I'm gonna take a chill on that adventure, and I'll be still going on different adventures until I complete my training.